Let's talk about a broken promise. Imagine you're a public servant. You've built a career, a life, on the idea of stability. But what happens when that's all just ripped away? We're about to connect the dots on a huge shift happening in Canada's public service, a story of betrayal and a plan that could change what it means to be middle class in this country. It really starts right here. Just try to put yourself in these shoes for a second. You're a federal employee. You voted for a party that promised to protect your job. Then, boom, you get a notice. Your position might be gone. That's not a hypothetical. That's the reality for thousands of people right now. And this isn't just some vague feeling of unease. Union leaders are calling it a Hunger Games-style fight for jobs. I mean, think about that imagery. This is about being pitted against your own colleagues, your friends, in some desperate scramble just to stay employed. So what's the official reason for all this? Well, you get the usual buzzwords. They're calling it modernization. They want a leaner, more productive public service. But you gotta ask, productive for who? Because it sure doesn't feel very productive for the thousands of people now facing the unemployment line. And make no mistake, the scale here is just massive. The plan is to slash the federal workforce by about 40,000 positions. That's not a small trim. That's a huge cut. 40,000 careers, 40,000 families, all hanging in the balance. And this is where the story takes a really sharp turn. This is the part that just doesn't add up. If you're firing all these people to save money, you'd think spending would go down, right? Well, that's not what's happening at all. In fact, it's the exact opposite. While they're handing out pink slips to public servants, they're writing massive checks to private companies. Last year alone, spending on outside consultants and outsourcing contracts hit a staggering $20.7 billion. And no, that is not a typo, billion with a B. A new record. Just look at this chart. That tiny little bar on the left, that's the supposed savings from firing their own people. And that giant tower on the right, that's what they're paying private consultants. It's madness. They're firing the team to hire incredibly expensive freelancers. It makes zero sense unless you start to see who's really pulling the strings. See, according to the source material, this isn't just some screw-up. It's a deliberate strategy. And to understand it, you have to look at the architect of this whole new economic vision for Canada. Let me introduce you to Prime Minister Mark Carney. Now, this isn't your typical politician. He's a creature of the global financial elite. He ran two of the world's most powerful central banks. But look at his last gig before taking the top job, vice chair at Brookfield Asset Management. That's a $1 trillion corporate behemoth. And now he's modernizing our government. Starting to see the picture? And if you had any doubt, this slide should clear it up. On the left, you've got Brookfield's corporate investment strategy. On the right, the Carney government's signature policies. It's not just similar, it's practically a carbon copy. A coincidence? Or is this a very calculated plan to benefit his old Bay Street buddies? This isn't just speculation. Analysts have actually put a name on it. They call it the Carney Doctrine. And what it means is a complete rewrite of what government is for. It's not about providing services anymore. No, the new role of government is to make the world safe for big capital. So how does this alleged playbook work? Well, it's pretty simple. Step 1, the government picks a big project. Step 2, you, the taxpayer, put up the money to take on all the early risk. Then, once it's a sure thing, private equity firms like Brookfield swoop in to collect the guaranteed profits. And the public servants who used to do this work, their new job is just to manage the private contracts that replace them. And this is happening right now, to real people. Who's getting the axe? It's the accountants, the IT support staff, the procurement officers. You know, the actual nuts and bolts people who make the government function. And what about those workers? Weren't they promised a soft landing, a transition plan? Yeah, those were just words. That safety net they were counting on, it just isn't there. They've been completely left to fend for themselves. It's absolutely brutal. As one source put it, they're being thrown right into the deep water without any kind of life jacket at all. I mean, they trusted the government with their vote, and what did they get in return? A pink slip. So what's the ultimate result of all of this? Analysts are predicting a devastating downscaling of the Canadian middle class. We're talking about people who had secure, stable careers, now facing a future of uncertainty, maybe even taking minimum wage jobs at Walmart just to get by. So there you have it. That's the story the sources are telling. A government firing its own people only to funnel billions to private corporations. A modernization that looks an awful lot like a betrayal. And the only question we're left with is a simple one. Is this the future we really want?